designed, and started to be built at the end of the 19th century. Kaunas fortress was to become one of the most important links in the defense system of the western border of the Russian Empire. The fortress consisted of forts, intermediate batteries, barracks, administrative buildings, infrastructure, etc. Kaunas was transformed into a fortress city by the beginning of the 20th century. The city was surrounded by a ring of 8 forts and 9 batteries. As the use of concrete in fortification became more widespread, a decision was made to improve the fortress. In 1903, the construction of the 9th fort was started on the high ground near Kumpi Falwark. Despite huge investments and many years of construction, the expectations of the fortress were not fulfilled, as the army of the German Empire captured the fortress in 11 days, the 8th of August, -18, 1915. The first 3 forts, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, were the most active in the fights. The 9th fort was hastily abandoned by the Russian imperial garrison on the evening of the 17th of August, 1915. The fort suffered little damage during the First World War. After the First World War, when Lithuania regained its independence, Kaunas fortress was subject to various modifications. In 1924, the 9th fort was reconstructed into a division of Kaunas hard labor prison. Most prisons in Lithuania were not designed to hold prisoners for a long time, as prisoners were usually sent to Siberia during the occupation of the Russian Empire. In the independent Republic of Lithuania, such punishments could not be imposed. Therefore, it was necessary to look for a place to accommodate those who had violated the law. The rest of the production was sold. From 1,930 political prisoners, mainly representatives of the banned Communist Party, were imprisoned in the hard labor division of Kaunas 9th Fort, and from 1,934 women were also imprisoned. On the 15th of June, 1940, Lithuania was occupied by the Soviet Union, and the political prisoners who were imprisoned in the division of hard labor prison of Kaunas 9th Fort found themselves free and even in the spotlight. It was turned into an intermediate transfer station for political prisoners. Only the political prisoners were no longer members of the Communist Party, but Lithuanian intellectuals, teachers, officers, journalists, and others who opposed the Soviet occupation. From the 9th Fort in Kaunas, these people were sent to various areas of the Gulag archipelago. Further deportations of people's enemies were prevented by the outbreak of the war between the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany. When Nazi Germany occupied Lithuania at the end of June 1941, the darkest page of the history of Kaunas 9th Fort began. During 3 years, approximately 50,000 people were murdered in Kaunas 9th Fort, around 30,000 Jews, as well as Lithuanians, Poles, Russians, and other nationalities. The pogroms against the Jews in the temporary capital began as soon as the Nazi German army occupied Kaunas on the 25th of June, -26. The first organized shootings of Jews took place in the 7th Fort at the end of June 1941 and lasted throughout July. On the 28th of October and 1941, the Great Action was carried out in Kaunas ghetto. 9,200 out of 27,000. People were selected on the 28th of October. And on the 29th of October, those condemned were brought to the 9th Fort and shot in a nearby field. In the same field, not only Kaunas Jews, but also Jews from Germany, Austria, France, and Czechoslovakia were buried. Most of the foreigners were brought in and shot in November-December 1941, and the last large group of French citizens in May 1944. In the second half of 1943, after Nazi Germany's significant military setbacks on the Eastern Front, hasty attempts were made to hide the evidence of war crimes by destroying the remains at the sites of mass murder. The team of corpse burners working there realized that the Nazis did not need living witnesses. Therefore, they decided to escape. On the 25th of December, 1943, a group of 64 people managed to escape from the 9th Fort. Thanks to these people, Nazi Germany was not able to completely conceal the extent of the crime. On the 15th of July, 1944, Kaunas Jewish ghetto was liquidated. Most of the Jewish community in Lithuania was destroyed. The Nazi German troops withdrew from Kaunas, but the Red Army took their place. At the beginning of the Second Soviet occupation, 1944 to 1947, the fort was used by the repressive structure of the NKVD, and later the premises were adapted for food storage. On the 9th of July, 1958, the Council of Ministers of the LSSR adopted a resolution on the organization of the Museum of Revolution History in Kaunas, on the territory of the 9th Fort, based on the aim to commemorate the victims of the terror of the Lithuanian bourgeois, nationalists, and the German fascist invaders. In other words, the new museum was to provide a narrative of history based on Soviet ideology. Monument in memory of the victims of Nazism, 1984. The 32-meter-high concrete monument consists of 3 sculptural groups symbolizing pain, hope, and liberation.